Aloha everyone and welcome to Skincare with Hyram. If you don't know who I am, my name's Hyram and I'm passionate about teaching you how to perfect your skincare routine. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you can see my videos every single week. How is that? Today I'm going to be reacting to the one and only, the ever-enduring makeup artist, John Maclean. I'm just going to assume that every one of you watching knows who John Maclean is because he has been, she, I always just assumed God. The presence of John on YouTube has always been so piercing that once you see him, you remember him. And as I was prepping for this video, I was watching some of his videos from the past and just cracking up. Oh my God. I love John's personality. I feel like him and I would just vibe so much. Like honestly, put me in a room with John Maclean and ContraPoints and I will never leave. They are all I need out of life. But thank you to everyone on Twitter and James Welsh for tagging me in this routine. I honestly thought right before filming this video that this was one of his most recent uploads, and then I looked at the timestamp and I was like, oh shit. This is from a year ago. But honestly, I committed. I'm here to do it. I don't care. John is iconic and this needs to be done. I have been obsessed with John ever since I saw him say, "The only sunscreen I wear is haute couture." Iconic. Being that a deity has uploaded his skincare routine, I feel a personal calling to react to it. I don't know about you. So let's get into it. If you don't know me, I'm a skincare specialist. That is the official title of my position at the skincare company that I work for. I am not, however, a licensed esthetician or a dermatologist, nor do I ever claim to be one or know more than either of them. If you do have any concerns with your skin, please go see your esthetician or dermatologist to get that shit treated. This is all just for fun and information's sake. I will try to refrain from impersonating his accent just to keep you guys sane as much as I want to. I will leave that to him. Oof, 20-minute video. Here we go.
Hello everyone. In today's film, I'm going to be talking to you about skincare maintenance. I didn't want to create a film that was specific to skincare. I think skincare is one of those subjects that is incredibly ambiguous. There's a great abundance of subjects within skincare. One of the most highly requested films for me to produce and share on the platform www.youtube.com has been about skincare, but in particularly my own personal skincare. And it may come as an anticlimax to many of you, but my own skincare routine and maintenance routine isn't actually that complex. From time to time, I do change my own skincare maintenance routine.
I actually really like to hear that. I don't find that anticlimactic at all. Like I always talk about on my channel, the perfect skincare routine has like 4 to 5 steps. Keeping it simple is much better than a lengthy, complicated skincare routine, so I'm not mad at that at all.
Now, my skin is dry to combination. It's not excessively dry, but it definitely needs replenishment. It can get a little oily in the T-zone now and then, but I would say it's more on the drier sides of things. The top of my forehead and the higher areas of my cheeks definitely get very, very dry, and certainly my chin and jaw area. Now when it comes to cleaning the skin, first thing in the morning that I like to do isn't necessarily to wash it with water or soap. Soaps of course are quite abrasive to the skin, certainly the facial skin, but I like to go in straight away with some BioDerma on a cotton pad. I might just use a little bit of that. What I do is that
is my favorite micellar water. Oh my God. And he even has the right one, the Sensibio micellar water, which is fragrance free and the least irritating. I did not expect it to start off in that fashion. If you guys have watched any of my videos, I constantly talk about that micellar water just because I think it's really good. It's non-sensitizing but performs amazingly, takes makeup and sunscreen off really well. So he's off to a good start already. That is amazing.
Take it over the skin. I always like to pat around the eyes. I don't like to drag on the eye too much because the skin around the eye is very fragile. Now there's absolutely nothing on my skin currently, and I have gone in on clean shaven skin. Now particularly in the morning, I do get quite an oily forehead, so I always like to make sure that I remove everything on my forehead. And I just find that that freshens my skin up considerably. I just like to take off any dirt or oil that's been there from the night. Just removes everything. And to massage, I'm going to be going in with a very trusted product, the DHC Cleansing Oil. I very much like this oil because it is one of these oils that you can apply, and then once you mix it with water, it turns into a milk. So it's really easy to remove. I have quite a...
The term for that is called emulsify, or an emulsifier. So right away, I have to say, I love that cleansing oil. I've talked about it in multiple videos, and I find that it's best for people with dry skin, since one of the primary ingredients is olive oil, and olive oil typically performs best on people who have, more dry skin. Although I would say that cleansing oil can be good for anyone, but he's right. The oil emulsifies, which is always nice to have with the cleansing oil, because usually oil oils and waters do not mix, so taking oil off of your face can be extremely difficult. But when a product emulsifies, it essentially turns into like a milky foam that you can easily remove from your face and move on to the next step, which is cleansing. So far, he's doing so good, not only on these products, like ones that I actually like find okay, they're ones that I've previously recommended in videos. I am pleasantly shocked.
I have quite a functional relationship with skincare. I'm not as fixated on skincare as I am with makeup. I look at skincare very functionally, even though I have friends that are immensely interested and obsessed with skincare. They could stare at a pot of some humectant goodness knows what for about 5 minutes and they'd be as high as a kite for about a month. I very much like products that are effective and do their job.
Yes.
So what I like to do is just massage that around. And I do it in all areas. And I massage my skin to some capacity every day. I don't always go in with the DHC oil, but I always like to go in and just... Sometimes I will use a dense moisturizer.
His massaging technique is very interesting to me, but I think what he's doing is great. He's using an oil which basically helps to like lubricate the skin so that when you're massaging it, it's an easy slip rather than being tough and rough, like pulling on your skin. I think massaging the face is really great. There's not a lot of data to back up the actual effectiveness of it, but the fact that it's been something that's been used for thousands of years as an effective skincare trick in other cultures is kind of enough evidence to me that like, okay, it probably works well. But yeah, I do the same thing as well. When I use a cleansing oil, I really take time to massage it into my skin and just to make sure I get every area. Not only is it really good for removing all the dirt and makeup, but it's really effective for just like calming yourself down. Kind of like a spa relaxation moment. And I also like that he's being very gentle. He's not being really rough as he massages it into his skin. He's being very gentle and particular and very smooth as he moves it around. I mean, I'm already a John stan, but this is taking it to a whole nother level. The fact that he was also talking about skincare as being very functional rather than very excessive and luxurious, I think is incredible, because honestly, when I was going into this routine, I fully anticipated him to be like, here's my $200 cleanser, here's my $300 moisturizer, and who knows, that could be the case. But so far, those products he's using are very functional, do what they're supposed to do without any fancy, excessive fragrance, packaging, description, blah, 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 blah. You know, the stuff that so many people get caught into. I completely agree with his stance on skincare. It can be very self-indulgent while also respecting the functionality of it.
One of the things I like to do next is go in with this little gadget here that I purchased on Amazon for not a lot of money. It has this steel part here with a handle, and it also vibrates. So if I turn the end, it comes to life. What I do with this is just move it across the face. Never dragging away from the eye, always coming in. Now I find this great as I do tend to be prone to clogged sinuses. I think there's some sort of village living up there. I also follow the natural contours of my own face, so underneath the cheekbone and underneath the jaw. And I move it up the neck. This is also great if you are quite stressed or a little tense. It can really relax you. I also like to keep my one of these in the fridge so that when I go in with it, it's really soothing.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. At first, I thought that was going to be like a razor or something to exfoliate, and I got a little bit nervous, but what he's doing I think is good. Essentially, that tool uses vibration to help products penetrate into the skin deeper, but also just to help your face tighten. There are some like anti-aging claims that those devices have, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I definitely don't think it hurts your skincare routine, and it can actually help product absorption and just to help your face feel refreshed. Putting it in the fridge and then using it can also really help with depuffing the eye area and reducing any congestion on the face. I agree with him. I like that he said he got it from Amazon and not some crazy expensive fancy one, because in reality, I'm like, if you are going to use a tool like that, I would recommend just getting a more affordable one rather than a really fancy one.
Then I submerge my face cloth with water and rinse the majority of it out. I'm going with a damp face cloth. So it's wet, but it's not dripping wet. And this is what I use just to remove the DHC oil. And I'm very gentle with that. I don't want to be too abrasive to the skin, especially when my skin is quite irritated and agitated. Now, there's a little bit of dry skin here and there, skin that will need a little bit of an exfoliation, but I don't like to use exfoliators that are filled with beads or feel sandpapery.
Oh, okay. So it looks like he doesn't go in with a cleanser afterwards, and most of the time I would kind of be horrified by this, but here's the thing, he already doesn't have any makeup on. He's using a cleansing oil afterwards. For people with severely dry dry skin, that's not a terrible thing to do. Actually, just removing a cleansing oil with water, letting it emulsify and then come off can be enough cleansing for someone with dry skin, because sometimes doing a double cleanse system can be overly stripping to people with dry, sensitive skin. And if he's already not wearing makeup or sunscreen or any products like that, I personally don't really see a problem with that. The only time I hesitate is that if he is oily in his T-zone area, and leaving the DHC cleansing oil on top of that part of the skin can be problematic and could lead to pore blockage. If anything, I would say using a cleanser after the cleansing oil in his T-zone alone, and then leaving the rest of his face just as is. That's what I would recommend. That does concern me a little bit, but at the same time, this is pretty common, and a lot of estheticians actually recommend only going in with a cleansing oil if you do have dry skin. Simply for that purpose alone, my hope is that if he does wear makeup, he goes in twice with the cleansing oil and rinse twice in order to properly remove all of that makeup.
But I don't like to use exfoliators that are filled with beads or feel sandpapery. I don't like things to be too rough. I much prefer exfoliators that you can put on and then
that's what I love to hear.
Off. I don't like anything that feels murderous on the skin. So one of the exfoliators that I absolutely love is the Dermalogica Gentle Cream Exfoliant. I don't always use this Dermalogica mask on a daily basis, maybe about once a week, if that. I actually don't like to exfoliate my skin too often. I think it's far too abrasive, certainly for the kind of skin that I have. Now I apply a liberal amount of that to the skin. I just apply that to the majority of my face.
Okay, so if you guys don't know my stance on Dermalogica, I'm personally just not a fan of the brand because they present themselves to be very medical, scientific, data-backed while using commonly known irritants at crazy high concentrations, and they're also very expensive. I consider them to be overpriced, but here's why I don't find it that problematic. First of all, he says that he only goes in with it once a week, which is incredible. People with severely dry skin, I always recommend that they should exfoliate very infrequently because over-exfoliation can lead to a lot of problems like flaky skin, more excessive dryness, a compromised moisture barrier, just so many problems that you don't want to deal with. And the philosophy is there. I also love that he said he doesn't go in with scrubs or harsh exfoliants. He rather prefers something you can leave on the skin and wash off afterwards. Completely agree. If you have dry skin, do not even think about touching a scrub. Please do not even consider that because that is so problematic. What he's doing in philosophy is correct. I wouldn't recommend Dermalogica, but I don't find it problematic at all.
The dead skin without being too abrasive. And I tend to leave this on my skin for roughly 10 to 15 minutes until it dries.
Perfect.
Touch
Perfect
just
timing.
to feel it. I wouldn't say it's one of these exfoliators that feel like a mask, like they are drying on the skin. Some of them go really hard. But this one you can definitely feel it drying slowly. So with that now dry, I'm just going to remove it with the same face towel I used just a moment ago to remove the DHC oil with some clean hot water. Part of the reason that I like to go in and massage the skin, particularly when it is slightly irritated and there's several pustules that I want to get rid of, I tend to prefer to massage pustules or spots as opposed to popping them or extracting the sebum buildup from them. I very much believe that these things can be left alone to heal on their own. I believe that the body can process these things itself. So I almost like to give it a gesture forward and a push along.
Now I understand why he calls himself God. Because it makes sense. All of this information is so good. Yes, I feel like we tend to mistrust our own skin and our own bodies, that our bodies aren't able to solve these problems on their own, when most of the times they can, they just need a little bit of assistance. And I like that he said he doesn't pop his pimples, because first, skincare 101, you shouldn't be doing that. And massaging can actually help to kind of redirect the excess sebum towards the surface of the skin so that the body has an easier time ejecting it. The only thing that I wasn't crazy about is that he uses a towel again to take off the mask. I would prefer that he just uses water because reintroducing the towel, especially when it already has the cleansing oil on it, can only potentially increase reintroducing that oil to your skin, which could potentially block pores and is also a little bit abrasive. But that's it. Everything else I love so far.
Now after doing that, I typically splash my face with some lukewarm water or cold water or warm water, depending on what I feel I need. But I like to go in with water. If I don't have water nearby and I'm having to clean my face where I'm not near a sink, I would then go in with a little bit of BioDerma on a cotton pad
good.
again.
Yeah, this
now
is
for
good.
moisturizers, I do tend to like to use quite strong, quite rich moisturizers. And I don't really use toner. It's not something that I've ever really thought was necessary. So after I complete the steps, I then go in with a moisturizer.
He is hitting all the nails on the head. This is why I got a good vibe from him. We literally have the exact same philosophy. I constantly talk about in my videos how I'm like, toner is not necessary. I don't really get the point of it. It's just an excess product that you don't need, and you should go in with a more rich, more powerful moisturizer if you are still feeling dryness. My mind's kind of blown right now. Everything he's saying, I completely agree with. This is not how I expected it to go. I completely anticipated it to be opposite of this. Him going in with very fragranced, very expensive moisturizers. Wow, I'm shook, y'all. Wow.
I then go in with a moisturizer, and my typical go-to moisturizer is Embryollis La Cream Concentrate. I also sometimes use the BioDerma Ultra Soothing Balm, as well as the BioDerma Hydra Bio Cream. And I don't use a great amount of this, just a very thin layer, and it's very rich.
So I'll be completely honest, I don't remember off the top of my head the ingredient list of the Embryollis moisturizer. However, both the BioDerma products definitely have my seal of approval. I think they're great for dry skin. Let me look real quick. Okay, wow. Yes. This moisturizer is great. It has some more conventional, like you could say old-fashioned ingredients for moisturizing, but it definitely will be good for dry skin. It really seals in the moisture barrier to make sure you're not losing any water through your skin. I am so shook, y'all. John knows his shit when it comes to skincare. I'm really blown away. I completely approve. All the products that he uses are simple but effective, not fancy, functional, do what they're supposed to do without any frills. I love it.
My skin does tend to be more on the drier side of things, so I do like to cater for it in that respect. I like to use products that are quite rich and quite emollient. Now when it comes to eye creams, I'm not really that fussed about eye creams, but I do like to apply a very strong, very rich amount of moisturizer or eye cream to the underneath of my eyes, as well as a little bit on the eyelids themselves. I typically use the Bobbi Brown Extra Eye Repair Cream. It works marvellously on me. I use quite a lot of it just on the cheek, as well as if I want my skin to look really glowy, and it keeps this area, which I get severe dryness on, keeps it very, very moisturized, and it keeps it also looking quite healthy throughout the day.
So, as if we're shocked, he nails it again. Seriously, for real, are we like twins? And this was a year ago. He is way ahead of the times. I always talk about how eye cream, yes, while it can be fun to use, is not necessary to a skincare routine, and that you shouldn't spend a lot of money on an eye cream just because it's not completely necessary to a routine. Bobbi Brown, though, is expensive, and I want to look at this ingredient list to see what exactly it has. Oh, it's $80. Well, I mean, the rest of his skincare routine is relatively affordable, and for someone like John who dabbles in the luxurious side of life, you know, I don't find a problem with him splurging for an item. Wow, okay, so this ingredient list is really long. You know, it has some really good ingredients. It has shea butter, glycerin, green tea, apple, mulberry, evening primrose, olive oil, caffeine, a peptide complex, hyaluronic acid. I mean, it does have a good ingredient list for a luxury price point item. I'm actually quite impressed. The only thing is that it does have fragrance and limonene, which I don't think fragrance belongs in an eye cream at all, but honestly, this is not very bad, and especially considering that the rest of his routine is mostly fragrance free, and he goes in with this product, I don't see a problematic whatsoever. Like I've told you guys, I have one or two products that I have in my routine that have fragrance. I just like to encourage the overall philosophy of reducing as much fragrant products as possible to prevent any potential irritation and sensitivity. It's all about a balance, and John seems to have figured that out so far.
Another thing that I like to do when I'm either stressed or to calm my skin down, or even in the morning when I have slightly puffy eyes, I like to take a pebble. This one is by Mother Nature. They can be found on most beaches. I am the type of person that collects stones.
Oh my god, I was totally like, I've never heard of Mother Nature. What brand is that? Are the products good? Right over my head. This is a very interesting trick. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I think using a rock, as long as it's smooth and doesn't have any abrasiveness, can, you know, be just as beneficial as using that device that I used before. So no complaints on my end.
I find this technique absolutely great as well if you have puffy eyes in the morning. I actually want to talk about protection. Now, protection is always the final stage in my skincare routine, because it's important to protect against the sun. The sun, of course, is quite damaging to the skin. Sunlight is a beauty suicide. So I always like to go in with an SPF. Of course, my own skin is among the very fairest of skin tones, so I do have to take particular care when dealing with sunlight. Skin, of course, is all relative to your ethnicity. Certainly in my own case, the part of the world that I come from, there isn't a lot of sunlight often. Someone with skin as fair as my own, the skin has been designed with very little melanin in it, so that it can absorb as much of the sunlight as quickly and as efficiently as possible, because it doesn't see the sunlight often. Whereas if we're to take somebody from sub-Saharan Africa, their epidermis has a greater concentration of melanin in it. Because it is exposed to sunlight so much, so it processes sunlight a lot slower. One of my favourite SPFs is the Estee Lauder Daywear in SPF 50. It's an absolutely fantastic one. I find with a lot of SPFs, one in particular problem is that sometimes when I apply them near my eyes can become quite irritated and almost tear. So this one, it does irritate my eyes ever so slightly. I do tend to find that most SPFs irritate me, but this one doesn't irritate my eyes too much. I also absolutely love Clinique's SPF. I think it's absolutely marvellous. La-Roche Posay also retail SPF 50s, which are fantastic.
Personally, I would recommend the Clinique sunscreen. I find that that one works really well for people with fair skin tones. It's really effective. I personally own it, and I think it's a better one than the other ones that he mentioned. But overall, yes, his philosophy and everything that he was teaching is so right. I mean, yes, that is the fundamental, like, scientific explanation for why people do need to use sunscreens. And I will say, even if you do have a darker skin tone, you still need to use sunscreen. But people with fair skin tones absolutely need to use sunscreen more so than anyone else. I'm glad to hear that he put so much emphasis on this, because you'd be surprised by how many makeup artists don't really use very much or any sunscreen when they have an entire lengthy skincare routine. Painfully ironic.
And when I apply SPF, I cover my entire face with it and onto the ears, and a little bit on the neck if it's going to be on show.
That's exactly
I
what
do tend to avoid the sunlight as much as I can. I don't mind when it's sunny, but I don't like to be in direct sunlight.
He hit a really important note that I find we oftentimes overlook. Sometimes we preach sunscreen use so much when in reality, just avoiding the sun as much as possible is so much better for your skin, and why my ass is so pale compared to what I used to be. But that's another topic.
I definitely think I shall have to do a film at a later date about SPFs, as I of course find them very necessary.
Why haven't you done it yet? Please.
No, I shan't be applying SPF within today's film, as I'm going to apply moisturiser and eye cream and hurl myself into my sarcophagus. Recently, my sister introduced me to this incredible technological device called a television, and she showed me these marvellous documentaries that I find very, very interesting, so I'm going to go and watch them after I have completed this film.
Honestly, that makes me so happy to hear after his 25,000 years of life that he's finally introduced to a television. A girl needs a break from infinite existence.
So on a daily basis, I do of course go in with some Embryo Release La Cream concentrate. And what I do with that is I take about a pea size on either cheek. Typically is too much for most people, I'd say. Most people probably have too much just with one pea-sized amount on their skin.
Wow, yeah.
But my own skin is very dry.
A good way of telling how dehydrated your skin is by how much moisturizer you have to use and how rapidly it absorbs into your skin. And just looking at him apply it, it immediately absorbed, which means his skin is really in need of moisture. That's typically why people with oily skin have a more difficult time with moisturizers absorbing into the skin, because their skin just simply doesn't need the moisture and the hydration as much as someone with dry skin does. And when it comes to that, honestly, like a lot of companies or people will recommend, like, you only use this much moisturizer. It depends. It depends on the product. It depends on the viscosity, the texture, the needs of your skin, the areas on the face. It just depends. Use how much feels right for your skin.
The next step that I like to do is to go in with my extra eye repair cream. And I do tend to do this more so at night than during the day. Sometimes I'll apply a little bit of it just underneath the eye. And I just take a little blob of that on either side.
Oh, wow.
That'll be quite enough.
He actually uses a lot. That's a lot of eye cream.
Not much. And I just tap that. And if you have too much on one side, you can always take it off and move it to the other side. And that's my skin more or less ready for bed or ready for the day. Of course, if this was ready for the day, I would apply SPF. But I think to summarize, it's just very important to treat your skin suiting to you. I really wanted to create this film today just to share my own sort of skincare routine. I don't necessarily separate skincare or looking after oneself or health or the body or the mind. I don't separate any of these things. I think that they are all one. And I think when you look at it like that, you're able to solve more than one problem.
I think I found my skincare soulmate. For real, I'm not even kidding. Everything was on point in that video. If you've watched any of my reaction videos, you know that I have so many problems with most skincare routines out there just because I feel like they're so excessive. They have so many irritating components. There's misinformation being spread. And I'm blown away by how well researched he is, the products that he's using, the fact that the majority of them are fragrance-free, the simplistic and minimalistic mindset, and just how far ahead of his time he was when he uploaded this video. This was uploaded more than a year ago. I'm just blown away. Everything he said in his video, I can confidently stand behind. And his final point I love, talking about how he doesn't separate skincare from self-care and health. I completely agree. I think of skincare the same way as I think of brushing my teeth, exercising, eating healthy. It's literally all within that same realm. It's all about taking care of yourself, making sure your health is in check. And overall, yeah, I have no complaints. I do say, excellent job, John Maclean. This was so much fun, and honestly, I was standing John Maclean before. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to know your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you like John? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments. Also comment who you think I should react to next, because I'm going to be doing a lot more reaction videos while we're in quarantine, and I would love to know who you think should be up next. Don't forget to subscribe to my second YouTube channel called Selfless, where it's focused on empowering you to make a positive difference in the world right now from your phone. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you can see my videos every single week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Mwah.